Hey, morning everybody. Yes, it is 7:27 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Basically the last Friday of the Daylight Savings Time before we go back to falling back into Standard Time. But anyway, I am here, of course. It is TGIF, thank God it's Friday. It is also the 1st of November. And depending on your cable system and everything, by now, you're either transitioning as we speak to Christmas music on your Sounds of the Seasons channel of your music choice channels that come with your cable system, or you're going to be going through that transition starting tomorrow over this weekend. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here on this hashtag TGIF, if you will, to talk about some wrestling. Now, I haven't watched much this past week. I paid attention to what's going on. Heck, I didn't even watch AEW Dynamite or NXT on Wednesday because I was so tired from work. But I wanted to come on here and give my thoughts on some of the things that have been announced over the past couple of weeks. Some of the events that have occurred as well, especially what happened at Crown Jewel, one Pacific thing that happened at Crown Jewel. But let's talk about some of the things that have happened over this past week. Let's start with AEW. AEW on Dynamite this past Wednesday held the finals for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, SoCal Uncensored, SCU, the formation consisting of Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, beat the Lucha Brothers, that being Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix, to become the first ever All Elite Wrestling World Tag Team Champions. Now, there's no doubt we may get a rematch down the line, probably at Full Gear, but right now, as we speak, Kazarian, Sky, and in a sense Daniels are your tag team champions, which I think is a good choice. Even though the Lucha Brothers are a great tag team currently, you want to go with somewhat of a more recognizable trio of names, not just on the independent scene, but places like Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and all that. Not saying that Rey Fenix and Pentagon are not recognizable names, but from a more traditional, established mindset, you want to go with the ones that have been around longer. Now, with that said, the other thing that happened involving AEW is the announcement that Jericho and Rhodes championship match at All Elite Wrestling's Full Gear a week from tomorrow is going to have 3 judges. Now, some might bring that into question as to why do you need 3 judges for this championship match? It doesn't make sense. Well, some have reminded others that it's kind of a throwback and an homage to old school professional wrestling. That basically, especially when it came to a world title match, you had judges to decide the winner of the match, or to decide the outcome, I should say, of the match. Whether there was a new champion, or the champion retained, or if it was a draw. Now some, I'm pretty sure, are currently thinking that something's up. Something's gonna blow up. Something's gonna cause controversy with this matchup because of that decision. And you have a right to your opinion when it comes to that, because some might still look at that as nepotism on Cody's part, because some might think Cody's gonna have those judges favor him. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. The one thing All Elite Wrestling has done, I will give them a little bit of credit, is they kind of give you that unexpected feeling of you don't know what's really going to happen unless you tune in. And they've been very, very, well, I don't have ringside, here's the thing. I don't have ringsidenews.com on my phone right now. So I can't really see whether or not, there's going to be an outcome that might have been surprising or not. But, with that said, however, like I said, with that said, the what was I saying? Oh yeah. Like I said, with that said, Ed, the one thing All Elite Wrestling has been known to do is kind of surprise us with the unexpected. So this whole judges thing might be a great nod and homage to old school wrestling, especially when it comes to World Championship matches. But knowing how All Elite Wrestling may work, they may have one of the judges be a member of the Inner Circle, be an associate of Chris Jericho's Inner Circle. So, going to be really interesting to see what happens. Now, speaking again of AEW, it was announced over the weekend, and there's audio of a conversation between Tony Khan and Jon Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose. And basically, it was announced by Tony Khan that Moxley and Omega's match at Full Gear will be unsanctioned. This, of course, did not go over well with Jon Moxley. Because what happened is you had a match, I think it was after a match or before a match or whatever, it was during some kind of match, the progression of a match, while a match was going on is what I'm saying, Moxley came down and basically put a stop to that match. He basically, I think, attacked both competitors, attacked the ref, whatever. And then he went on the mic, and everybody has said that what Moxley said in that work shoot-like promo was very real and from the heart. Because basically, every match Moxley has had, to an extent, one-on-one, has been unsanctioned, lights out. AEW wants nothing to do with it, basically. So what happened is Moxley let out his frustrations. He said it's BS. It's like, how am I supposed to contend for a championship if my match, one of the biggest matches in the short history of All Elite Wrestling, is going to be unsanctioned? How can me and Omega challenge for titles? Titles if the result of whoever wins this match, doesn't get a win in the win column. He was basically not happy. And he basically called out the win-loss record situation and said that AEW could shove up the you-know-what. And a lot of people have brought that into contention, and let's talk about that briefly. Because a lot of people have actually talked about that and said that doesn't make sense. I mean, yes, it gives it more of a authentic sports-like feel, but people have pointed out that every company that has tried that in the past, sooner or later has just tossed that to the wayside and said, okay, fine, that's not working, let's just go with whatever feuds or persons or individuals or, at a hot point, basically a boiling point of being the kind we could push to that next level and be the next world champion or whatever. So a lot of people actually sympathize and actually support Moxley when he says AEW could take, the win-loss, stip that they have and shove it up their butt. Now, or, the other version the other incarnation of butt, the other verbiage of it. Ass, excuse my language, God. Excuse my language. But anyway, yeah, that's basically how he feels. Like, AEW could take this and shove it up their ass. Now, some may speculate that it's going to probably play into something down the line, like, I look at it this way, and this is mere speculation. One of the individuals that's been at a center point with, kind of inserted himself into the situation is Pac, aka Neville. Now, Pac has inserted himself into the situation with Moxley. He's inserted himself into a situation with Omega. He's, of course, inserted himself into a situation with Hangman Adam Page. But the point is, lately, besides just his situation with Adam Page, he's focused himself mainly on, or put himself mainly into that, as that third wheel, that unexpected third wheel of Omega and Moxley. Now, one could say that the reason the reason, maybe from a story perspective, if they want to interweave this into a story probably down the line, is maybe Pac brought up to Tony Khan, hey, look, you're going to sanction a match where basically anything goes, and this Moxley guy and this Omega guy are willing to basically beat the hell out of each other, and their blood and all that could be on your hands. Do you really want to reward the winner of that match, bloody and all and everything, as with a victory and a shot possibly at the world title? Or do you want to clean your hands of it? They could interweave that into the story to where, because Pac, basically, except for that one draw, is undefeated except for that draw, may have a reasoning for it so he could be like the next in line. I'm just saying. But yeah, Moxley work shoot, whatever you want to call it, legit shoot, work shoot, was not very happy about the decision and basically called AEW out on the BS when it came to the win-loss situation. And whether or not that gets resolved on Wednesday, on this upcoming Wednesday, the go-home show to Full Gear, is totally up in the air. But I will say this, like I said, work shoot, a legit shoot, it does not make All Elite Wrestling look good if one of their own top talents on camera is calling them out with this whole win-loss situation not really counting. So I've got a feeling this might spell the end of that. I've got a feeling All Elite Wrestling is supposed to be listening to the fans and be about the fans. You can't tell me that they don't know, they haven't heard how fans feel about it. And they're probably thinking, you know what, this win-loss thing, it really doesn't make sense. It's not going to do anything for us, so let's just get rid of it. I mean, you could still keep an authentic sports feel to it, if you will, if you want to do that. But again, it doesn't make AEW look good, despite the fact that, as some people pointed out, they did show some progress, when it came to giving a variety of moments and matches on Wednesday. Now, speaking of Wednesday, let's go over to NXT, because it was announced at NXT on television both ways that we're going to have not one but two War Game matches at NXT TakeOver War Games the day before Survivor Series. Now, it looks like the teams are being set up officially, have been kind of confirmed somewhat, not officially. But you're going to have, on one end, you're going to have a women's War Games match, first ever, where you're going to have Team Shayna against Team Rhea. Now, according to what Pro Wrestling Unlimited pointed out, you got Team Shayna consisting of Shayna Baszler, her two horseman buddies, Melissa Bashir and Jasmine Duke, I think, as well as Bianca Belair and maybe Io Shirai. So you're going to have 4-on-4 or 5-on-5, I don't know. But you're going to have Team Shayna against them. And then on the other side, you have Team Rhea, which is going to consist of Dakota Kai, Tegan Knox, Candice LeRae, and somebody else. We don't know who that's going to be just yet. Now here's the thing. One thing that William Regal said during that promo, and Pro Wrestling Unlimited reiterated, was since all the women in the ring were at the end of the show, well, not at the end of the show, but I think at the end of the first hour or something like that, since all the women that were brawling couldn't get along, the best solution is War Games. Now, I've got this feeling going on because Mauro Ranallo, and I'm sorry if I pronounced his last name wrong, but Mauro Ranallo basically stated something or said something when this was all happening, when this was all breaking down. He said that all these women that were involved in the brawl want to be NXT Women's Champion. And when I heard that, I'm thinking, could they? Would they? Hear me out. You see, War Games has always just been 5-on-5 or 4-on-4, right? And that's it. It kind of helps settle a feud, kind of balance things out, reset things. Only one time has a War Games match gone from being, teams to being every person for themselves. A good example of that is 1998's three-team War Games match of Team WCW against Team Wolfpack against Team NWO Black and White, Team Hollywood. And even though, individuals were representing teams, they were still every man for themselves. One has to wonder if maybe they'll add that into the equation with the women, because again, Ronaldo brought up the fact that neither one of these, that all these women want to be NXT champion or NXT Women's Champion. So it makes me think, is William Regal going to announce a stipulation to where it starts off as, Team Shayna against Team Rhea, but once all 10 women are in the match, or once all 8 women are in the match, not only does that mark the official start of War Games, but as soon as you have all the competitors, that also marks the start of an NXT Women's Championship match. In other words, let's say Candice LeRae is the last person in for her team. And not only does that mark the beginning of War Games officially to begin, but that also officially puts the NXT Women's Championship on the line, and it makes it every woman for themselves. In other words, it goes from being 5-on-5 or 4-on-4, Team Rhea, Team Shayna, camaraderie and all that, to now being every woman for themselves. I would not put it past WWE to probably throw in that little stipulation, because maybe from a story perspective, you could have William Regal go like, yeah, Shayna, let's just see how much camaraderie, how much camaraderie, or camaraderie, if you will. Let's see how strong your camaraderie and friendship with your two buddies here is, and your two allies is here really is, if you have to put up your championship in the same match you're teaming with them in. Makes sense, because again, he could make the announcement that, like I said, once all the competitors are in and War Games begins, that's where it goes from being a team perspective to being every woman for themselves. Makes you wonder. It would change the dynamic a little bit to where, okay, you're fighting side by side for, let's say, the first, 20 minutes, and then when everybody's in there, now you have to go after each other because it's every woman for themselves and everybody wants to be the NXT Women's Champion. It could make sense. It really could. And it would, in a way, probably get the belt off Shayna, because Shayna doesn't have to be the one that would get pinned or made to submit. And that would make room enough for Shayna to finally, as fans would be looking at, move on to another brand. Now, as far as the men's War Games match goes, that's kind of up in the air. Whether or not it's a regular War Games match, or they're gonna do the same, or they might do the same thing with the NXT Women's match. That's totally up in the air. Now, let me reiterate this. Let me kind of repeat this. I'm not saying neither one of these stipulations, the championships will be on the line once all the competitors are in the ring, is going to happen. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying that's a possibility, especially, like I said, when Ronaldo comes out and says every woman wants to be the NXT Women's Champion. Makes you think. Now, with that said though, will the men follow suit? I'm thinking basically the men may just be a regular War Games match, which is good. But I think a stipulation might be added into whoever, that if the Undisputed Era loses, or whoever wins the match for the team, will be next in line for an NXT Championship. Or an NXT Championship match. That's what I think is going to happen. I think you're going to have Team Ciampa against the Undisputed Era, and the stipulation is whoever gets the deciding fall or submission for their team, whether it's the Undisputed Era or Ciampa's team, that person will get a shot at the NXT Championship next. And that could cause some dissension within the Undisputed Era. It really could. So that's what came out of NXT, two of the big news events coming out of NXT. Now, as far as Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins' match at Crown Jewel goes, basically It was a false count anywhere, cannot be stopped for any reasons match. Now, I didn't see the match, because I was working, of course. But apparently, the Fiend is positioned as being, and we saw this at Hell in the Cell, he's positioned as being unstoppable. It's like you can bang him so many times with a chair, stomp him so many times, he's just going to get back up and go, really? That's it? Come on, give me your best shot. I mean, you're too easy. It's like, I think the Lex Man says it best in his video. After the result and the booking decision they made at Crown Jewel, they booked themselves into a corner even more so. Because basically now you're turning the Fiend into your Goldberg of a new generation. Because nobody's going to want to see him lose. Because again, as I've said before, people look at the Fiend, people like him, and they say, yes, the Fiend's going to open the door to hardcore pro wrestling again. Attitude Era, Ruthless Occasion, ooh, blood and guts, ooh, barbed wire and facts, ooh, it's going to be marvelous. That's what fans are hoping for with the Fiend. Because you're already giving him the freaking red lighting, and there's a reason for that, and that's because if you're going to go that route, the red lighting kind of covers up any certain, cuts or openings or whatever someone might occur with or sustain. And again, it reminds me as to when Impact Wrestling, when it was TNA, did the same thing with Raven. Raven, yes, he did eventually lose the belt, but Raven, when he was TNA/NWA champion, every match he had was a hardcore style-like match. It had blood and everything in there. WWE's realizing that if we do this with The Fiend and put him in that situation to where most of his matches got to be something similar, that the red light's going to cover up any kind of issues with blood and all that. It may seem ridiculous, but that would be the reason. Now, some have come out and stated that because The Fiend/Bray Wyatt is on SmackDown, he can't be Universal Champion unless they send him over to Raw, or he appears on both shows, which pretty much spits in the face of the draft as we speak. Some have said that The Fiend's going to lose the belt back to Seth this Monday, probably in a steel cage. More than likely to kind of set things right. Some have said that the reason The Fiend won the belt in Saudi Arabia at Crown Jewel was not just to make up for the fact that they screwed up at Hell in the Cell, but also, oh, it's Halloween. Let's have a Halloween-like guy win. It's like a lot of fans just, they look at all these various reasons, and a lot of these reasons are pointing to the fact that Fiend's not going to have that belt for long. And that The Fiend's going to drop it some way, either by the fact he has to vacate it because he's on SmackDown, he can't have it on SmackDown, or he's got to be traded to Raw, or the fact that he's going to lose it back to Seth on Raw or at Survivor Series, or the fact that they realized that the Fiend winning wasn't just because of the fans' backlash of Hell in the Cell, but also the fact that it's Halloween, and that's the only reason they did it. So, yeah, The Fiend won the Universal Championship. Basically after going through hell and back in this matchup. But the question is, how long will he keep it? That is what a lot of people are curious about. They want to know, how long is Bray Wyatt as The Fiend going to keep this belt? And how are they going to work this situation out? Because I know in a sense that, and I've said this before, Vince McMahon is not happy. He may put on a smile and act all great and everything and happy that SmackDown's on Fox, but seriously, he is still pissed that SmackDown got chosen over Raw. You know that. So you know he's going to do anything he can to try to screw it up. To try to screw SmackDown. You know he's going to do that. So, Anyway though, yeah, The Fiend is the champ now, and where do they go from here? What was the reasoning? That's up to opinion. Everybody's got their opinion on it, on how they're gonna move forward with this, and the reasoning for him winning. But hey, You know, at least WWE did kind of correct the wrong they did at Hell in a Cell, because I think everybody's right. You book yourself into a corner, then if you do that, you gotta basically either pull the trigger or not have the match at all. So, but that's all I'm gonna say, guys. Let me know what you all think down below with all the wrestling news and stuff that's come out from all the promotions, pretty much. And oh, by the way, in case you don't know, there is a wrestling pay-per-view for 1995 tomorrow from Chicago. It's called Saturday Night Super Fight from Major League Wrestling. Check that out as well. So anyway, though, guys, that's really all I could say. Let me know what your thoughts are on some of the news that came out of WWE and AEW. What are your thoughts? Comment down below. I'll talk to you all later.